Six-pack Lapadatt. We got Elliott Sykes, and we were just talking about how previously, before you came to the IPF, you were saying people were telling you when you were in the USAPL, like, wait till you come over, hit the international scene, it's going to be different. And you were thinking, like, how different could it be? And I know what you mean, where gravity's gravity. If I'm over
Right.
here lifting or if I'm over there lifting, like, it's gravity, whatever. It's the same. But it's hard to put into words until you experience it.
It's it wasn't the travel. It wasn't like the weight. It was just the immense pressure. Like
Mm.
even when I had a whole heavy session. I hit even more than I hit like 767, like maybe a few days, maybe like half a week before. Um, and it flew, and it like that was after travel and after all that. So it's not the travel, it's the pressure, dude. I'm gonna be so honest. While after my last warm up on squat, I think I did like 255. I was sitting in the warm up room and I was just like, "Oh my god, I think I'm gonna throw up."
No,
I think I'm gonna. I'm
really?
serious. I actually, fun fact, I threw up almost right after I competed, almost right after in my hotel
And why
room.
do you think it was just like all
I
the
think it was
excitement, all the
the
nerves?
adrenaline, the
Yeah.
pure amount of adrenaline coming off of it. Just like my body was just like, "Holy shit, bro!"
Yeah. Well, it is different because you're uber aware the world is watching.
Exactly, and I think that's
Everybody's watching.
it goes in the world into like into the whole essence of the competition. Everyone's watching. This is where it counts. If you mess up here, everyone's gonna be like, "Well, I guess you didn't have it.
Yeah. And
I guess
that's
you
the
didn't
thing.
have it."
If you're at a local meet, it's almost easier to be like local meet, whatever, something happened. It is what it is. It is what it is. But if you're at the world championships, people will say, oh, you couldn't cut it.
They'll dog
Ah,
on you.
different now,
They'll
huh?
dog on you.
100%.
And I
Yeah.
had comments coming from all places about what I was gonna do at Worlds. There's a lot of people telling me I wasn't gonna get over 750, some like crazy stuff. I was like, wow, dude, that's nuts. And listen, it was tough. It was tough. That squats, I
Well,
had that hiccup. So
well, okay. So let's back it up right before we go into worlds. The hype started building on you. And you're a young guy, like you were at freaking high school nationals earlier this year. Like it's crazy to think like you're in high school and on King Lives podcast, you got people like Austin Perkins, who's the pound for pound king. You got people like Taylor Atwood, who's like a legend, talking about
dude,
you on the podcast, talking about like you got to watch out for this kid. This kid's coming up next, and I can't imagine being a high school kid and being like, holy shit, like this is some people are going to show up to junior worlds, lift in a sub junior class, and nobody's going to know but their friends, family. And that's good. That's okay. But for you, everybody knew.
which was crazy because I mean, like, and then even more people saw after too
Yeah.
because I think I was at like low 9,000s. I was like 9,100 followers. And then after Worlds, I shut up to like 13,000. And I was like,
Oh,
oh,
damn.
whoa, whoa.
That's a nice increase in a weekend.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Um, and now I feel even more pressure for next year.
Like going into it, did you think that this would be potentially on the line for impact? Were you telling yourself, oh my God, if I perform like this, I could be on King of the Lifts. I could be talking about all like what did you think about all this going into it?
Dude, I mean, I was like, dude, I hope I don't bomb out. That's what I was thinking. That's
Yeah,
what I
that's
was
the worst.
thinking.
That's the worst.
Because dude, the hype around the judging, especially after NAPFs. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I personally was. I heard some bad things about that, and I
Right.
was like, oh. So I was like, if I can put up like something that is close to what I do in training, maybe I'll gain some traction. I did not expect it to be on the level that it was for this. Honestly, pretty much every meet I've done, other than that one local one, which I didn't really post about, has gained me so much more traction once I joined the IPF, which I think is so, it's such, I think it's just because it's more globally like renowned, you know what I mean? So
100%.
it's people from everywhere. Like when I was USAPL, I had some pretty good performances. I mean, I was posted by you way back when, like 2 years ago, almost now, when I was 16, and I was like just entering 75s. I weighed in fully clothed and was still like almost 10 pounds under. And then I think I totaled like 687.5. And I was like a stone's throw away from being a 67. And that was crazy. But I got hype around that. But then like high school nationals this year, which I didn't expect to get that, got a ton of watch. A ton of
Oh yeah.
watch.
Well, this is when you really started popping up people's radar. And to your point,
Yeah.
look at when you talk to people around the world now, if they pay attention to USAPL and USAPL lifters and their nationals, they'll straight up tell you, like, I was at the World Championships, the Open, I was in France for a silent worker the following week, and it's nothing but international people. They're like, I don't even watch anymore. If they're not affiliated with the IPF, they're not coming over. I
Yeah.
mean, that's it is what it
Most
is.
people, I mean, even in the US, like if you're like a casual powerlifter, a lot of people don't really know like the specifics of it, which
Right.
is fine, but it's still like, like that's when we're talking about getting on people's radar, that's the type of people that gain you a lot of traction because that's the most, I mean, like, yeah, there's elites, but there's only so many elites. If you're talking about bigger following, it's people who just kind of do the sport like for fun. Go in, lift some weights. It's a great sport. I love it. I think the community is great. I think the aspect of that is great. And that's the type of people that you're going to be meeting and that are going to be watching you for the most part because that's the majority of the sport right now, I feel like.
100%. Now, for you going into the World Championships, 18 years old. Now, I don't know if you heard Hamza, who was huge into this last year, like he had everybody buzzing as a 105. And everyone couldn't believe, like 18 years old, he's murdering the game. He was the guy before you. Last year, he was the Elliott Sykes of last year.
He
And
was.
then pulls up, like, I think I'm retired. And everybody's like, retired? What do you
What
mean retired?
what gets me is he said he completed powerlifting. You won sub junior worlds and Euros, but you in my eyes, compared to what people thought you were going to do, you underperformed. So I feel like if I was in his position, which honestly, to an extent, I feel like I am, because I feel like
Well, this is why I bring it up. Yeah. Like, this is like how do you feel? Because you're 18, you accomplished what he accomplished, and you just won best lifter as a sub junior, and now the hype's on you. Are you thinking like, could be burning out, or are you thinking, no, 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 no? Like, you're feeling the pressure now, you're feeling everything that he felt. Do you understand where he was going through, or are you like, no, man, I don't. I'm hungry for more. And this is,
I think I think I could see how it could burn someone out. That's not personally, that's just not the type of person I am. That's not how I react. When I got that, I say, I want to burn out. I want to turn the heat up. I want to
mm,
turn it up. I want to blow it out the water even more next year. You thought your mind was blown this year? Just wait. Just give me another year because there are some adjustments made in this prep. It's gonna be nasty once we get some data on it. It's gonna be
right.
nasty.
And you also haven't filled out the 74s yet. Like,
Not
you
even
don't
close.
cut.
I don't know if you saw my story yesterday. I weighed 70 kilo yesterday.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean,
That's crazy.
given like mostly water, but I'm still like 3 kilos under, and that's if I don't want to cut weight. If I cut weight, I could get up to like probably like 77 and do that, which is I think the game plan, honestly, is fill it
Eventually,
out.
right? Yeah.
Is fill it out, and then that puts me in an easier position to move up another. another class. I know Joe Bornstein was talking to you about this, and he was like,
Right.
Elliott's already thinking about moving up, and I am, because it's like it's a long-term thing. Um, it's a long-term sport, I feel like. I mean, you just saw Jones came back after how many years of him
Yeah, he's been around
not
forever.
even podiuming.
Yeah.
My
Decades, man.
fun fact, my coach, Adam Jones, used to be in 83 and has won comps against Jones before.
Really?
Yeah.
No shit. He's
Isn't that
got wins
crazy?
over the world champion.
Way back ago. And
Doesn't matter.
they're like the same
dog,
age.
that would be in my profile. Doesn't matter. I'd have that in my profile. I'd be,
Wins
that's
over
crazy.
former champ.
Yeah, that's wild. So you think eventually, like, is the plan to how long will you stay 74? Because if you cut for a year, if you're like 77 and you water cut, it'd be interesting to see what your total would be. However, you're young and your growth, you don't want to cut too long. And I've
Right.
actually had people, I think maybe it's Joe Bornstein actually, who said he might have stunted his own growth due to cutting
Yep.
too young.
That's the way I view it is I'm gonna eat more what I feel like I need to fuel myself, and based off like maintenance calories and stuff like that, of course. Like slight surplus. I want to stay lean because I don't want to be fat. That's not my thing. I was a wrestler and a swimmer. I just can't do it. But maintain a healthy composition, maintain a healthy amount of energy, keep building muscle, keep gaining weight. And if a year I'm like 77, 78, and I'm like, okay, why would I cut another year? And it's like, could I stay and chase Perk? Maybe if I'm really, really close, but right now, how likely is that? How likely is that? We'll see in a year. But
Yeah.
based off his most recent training, if he can bring that to the platform, that's gonna be nasty. 305 for what was it, 4 or 5 reps, and then he paused 335 on deadlift and bench. What was it, 215, 216?
So when you look at a guy, here's the thing, not only is the hype on you because of everything you've done, but in recent history, in powerlifting, the pound for pound king previously was Atwood, now it's Perk. And I don't got to tell you, it's 74 to another 74. And then when a 74 starts rising up and takes best lifter at sub juniors and has people all excited, people start drawing that succession line. And that's a lot of pressure. It's a little early. But I don't know. But you're saying though, hey, look, I probably won't even be a 74 by the time I enter the open.
No, I have to. By the time I enter in the open, I would be shocked. Simply because I just gain weight so quick when I eat. Like I've talked about this a little bit. I usually eat maybe like 2 meals a day. Not like trying to gain weight. Like it still fuels me. I feel energized. My sessions are fine. Everything's fine. But when I eat, like I went on vacation for a little bit, was still lifting and doing everything like that, but I was eating a little bit more because I was going out more. And it wasn't like shitty food. It was like, like pretty clean food because I don't try to pig out all the time. But I shot up to like just about 77 kilo within like a week or two.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So like 10 pounds, 4 or 5 kilos. Quick. And I was like, I didn't even feel like I was trying to gain weight like that. So it's like, if I'm actively trying to build muscle and gain weight now, like I'm going to gain weight like a lot. It's, I don't want to, like you were saying, everyone expects me to be the next King 74, but like the way I view it, the 83s are still waiting on their big outlier, man.
It's true. Well, so here's the thing too. When we look at the 83s, it's interesting because forever Russ was running it and he was running it at around 840 range. Then Delaney took that world record at Sheffield and everyone's waiting for Russ to return. Russ comes back, hits 860. So he takes the 83s into the 860s, which is nice. But since then, 2 other guys have entered into the 860s. And it's
Great.
become like Ade from Britain, Joey B. And then, of course, Germans hit 850s at Silent Worker. He just didn't cut weight. So they're starting to start rallying up now. Um, so I don't know how far, like what to expect, because Joey B's only 21 years old,
Yeah, it's crazy.
865. By the time he's 23, like what are we talking about? 880s, probably.
At least, at
At
least.
least, at least.
And the progress he has is it's fast. It's fast. I mean, like that's the difference. I feel like a lot of these people who are coming up, they'll be like, "Yeah, man, I'm still making these gains really fast." Brother, you're down at like the 600, 700s range for the total. These guys are closing in on 900 and they're still adding on a bunch each year. And that's when it gets hard. That's when it gets
Yeah.
really hard.
Yeah, the top end. Adding when you're at the bottom end when you first start for sure. But once you get into the 800s like those guys, like Joey B and Add A and them, I
Every
mean,
kilo is just grinding.
you got to fight for it. And it's interesting because Germans is doing this late surge at 35, man. How long, when you hear like Germans, 35 years old, wife, 2 kids doing this damn thing, you're 18 years old. Like this is like he's like twice your age almost.
I have not been weightlifting that long. I have
So
not
how
been
long? So how long? I was going to ask you. So let's get into this. We'll get into worlds. 3 years.
3 years.
So how did you even start weightlifting? How did you find powerlifting? What sports were
So
you in previously? Let's pull it back.
I had done swimming since I was 8. I was a really skinny kid before I hit puberty, like very like long hair, glasses, skinny. My dad was like, I was talking to my dad. I was like, I don't think sports are for me, man. and then I hit puberty. I think I gained around. It must have been close to like 40 pounds in like a year.
Holy smokes,
While
man!
staying the same height. Yeah, and my time in swimming. I don't know if you know a lot about swimming, but in like a year, I shaved off like 20 seconds off my time off of
Oh my
53.
god,
Off
Doc!
of
I don't know much
53.
about swimming, but I know races. Period. And 20 seconds is crazy.
Yep, and a 50 meter, and then a 50 meter.
Yeah, that's insane.
So just blew up, blew up. Then I was wrestling at 12, so like 7th grade for Americans. And my freshman year, so basically exactly when I turned 15, the season ends. I was like, man, I feel like I'm strong, but some of these kids in my weight class are really strong. So I was like, I'm gonna start lifting. I'm gonna start lifting. And within like a month, I was always in it for strength, right? Because it was wrestling. I didn't want to gain a bunch
Right.
of weight. I wanted to gain strength because I wanted to stay in the weight class because wrestlers weight cut and all that stuff. Um,
Right.
so I was weighing like 138 and I was squatted so like 64, 63, 62, something like that. And I was squatting like within like a month, I was squatting, I think 165, so 365, benching like 115, so like 253, 255, and then
Oh damn.
deadlifting I did 182.5, 183, so like 405, 4 plates.
So you were
Um
strong right off the hop.
yeah, and then I was looking up the records and I was like, man, I could get these state records. So I signed up for a meet, went for it, and then I was like, man, now I feel like I could get national records because I tied the 66 national record deadlift. So then I kept going and I kept going, and I told myself, man, I'm just gonna go back to wrestling and bodybuilding after a year, after I get these records. And then it was like the end of the year. I went to team nationals. This was like my first big performance.
Is this USAPL at the time? I got your open.
This
Is it
was
okay?
my third meet ever.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Teen nationals. This is holy shit. Yeah. 2022. You were 15, dog. Like that was like yesterday, 2022. When I think about it, you were 15, man. But so at this point, so you do teen nationals, and I see you won, like you've only ever won. But at
That
this
was
point, or are you
crazy
looking
thing about
around?
that.
are you looking around powerlifting? Like, do you know who's who? Are you paying attention to who's who? Are you following other powerlifters? Oh, you
Oh
are.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I love this sport, man. I talk about it all the time. It is
Even at 15 though, like back in when you're
at
15.
15. No. Oh, funny story about 15. I think Perk was at Teen Nationals taking photos with people, and
Yeah.
someone told me, they're like, "Bro, Austin Perkins is here. You got to go take a photo." And I didn't come with them because I had no idea who that was.
Oh, but an amazing picture for now. To you, a 15-year-old you and him, it would
We
age
weren't
so
even in the
well.
same weight class.
Oh, yeah, that's true too. Yeah. It would have aged
that's,
amazing though.
that's so funny. That reminds me of Will Ball's first meet. Have you heard that story?
No, tell me about it.
He was his handler. He didn't have a handler his first meet, and he was his hand. Ashton Raska was handling someone at his meet, and ended up handling him. And then he doesn't follow him. He doesn't tag him in the post, and he just mentions him by first name in the description of the post.
I had no idea. Did he know who Ashton was?
Nope, had no idea.
Dude,
Shook hands with him, had handled by him.
dude, Ashton's like a legend, a world champion. Obviously, he's going to Sheffield.
Especially for teenagers, dude, because he's been doing it since he was since 15, like all of them.
Ashton actually was a lot like you. At 19, okay, picture this, a year older than you are now. Ashton won the Open US Nationals. And to do it, he beat a reigning world champion in LS McLean. It's crazy.
Oh,
And he was 19.
that is
Ashton's a freak.
oh. That's
He's been through
different,
it.
man. That's
Yeah, he's
different
different.
level.
He,
It's
he's
real
he
different.
he's like, so him being like handling younger guys who are teens or like yourself, if he was involved, he knows what it's like to be young and in a pressure cooker situation. I can't imagine being 19 years old and you're going against a reigning world champ. LS was the champ when they're going against each other. And it's like, Ashton, you got to beat him. It's like, God damn, that's pressure, man. That's like
Yeah.
it's like you challenging Perk next year. It's like,
Oh,
okay, well,
dude.
this is early.
My I'm not gonna talk about any numbers because I told myself I wouldn't. Because I listen, I think I could have gotten 800 if I executed properly this year, and if my grip was good, which it was not. But I did it, so I'm gonna calm it down a little bit and try to contain myself on the number talk, because otherwise, I'm just gonna get too excited.
Do you think it would put like undue pressure on yourself that's already, I mean, people are already going to talk about you. Like 800 is just the number people are going to start attaching, right?
Is it pretty much my goal for this year's nationals and world's performance? There was talk about me going to open nationals. I don't think I'm going to do that. I think it's a little bit early. I haven't even gone to junior nationals. I want to at least get 1 year in the juniors and get a title in juniors, like officially, before I go, okay, maybe I'll take a stab at the open. At least 1 year, maybe 2, maybe 3. Who knows? I have 5. So
Right.
I'm trying not to rush myself, even though I'm excited. I'm excited. I want to take a stab at it. But my goal is to put up a performance where it's like Austin, at least when my training is at the point it's at, I want Austin to feel like he can't scratch his thirds at nationals. I don't want him to feel that way because he's been just kind of coasting on the national scene. Like there's people who are strong here, but it's not, it's not close. It's not even on the international stage. It's like, just blows him out the water. I feel like he feels comfortable a little bit, just a little bit, and I want to turn the heat up a little bit on him. I want to go, you haven't really had to perform to your best ability yet. You can, but you haven't had to, and I feel like that's a difference. I feel like having to is a difference versus
It's an interesting quote.
Yeah,
It's true. Well, I mean, it's interesting. I like how you worded that. You have performed at your best, but you haven't had to. What happens when you have to?
exactly. Because it's not always about being able to, it's the pressure, right? Like just because you can do something doesn't mean you can do it every single time. Can you do it like that? Can you do it like that? We don't know because he doesn't have to. If he feels like he can, he will. But what if he has to feel like that? Is he able to just flick that switch? And I think honestly, there's a chance he can. And if I do that, then I brought out an entirely different monster on the powerlifting world, and I'm sorry. but I'm gonna say I'm not gonna say I can beat him because I don't think I can beat him this upcoming year. I think that's a lot. I think that's a lot because I think Austin Perkins is in by next Worlds, next Nationals. I think he's in like maybe if he goes all out like 900s range type
Oh
thing.
my
That's what I
God.
mean, dude. Pausing three, his weak point arguably is like I don't even know what I would say. Maybe bench, maybe.
It used to be, but now like that's
Now
gone
he's
now.
closing in on the bench press
He,
world record, which is in itself ridiculous. In
yeah.
itself ridiculous.
He literally doesn't have a flaw, Austin. He's literally, and like so back in the day, obviously when Taylor was the man, he was pressured. So he's felt pressure then, but as of recent, I mean, he took his third with Shell at Worlds because they didn't want to risk nothing.
But he did.
But there's top end strength. Like Shell's a legend. Shell's a fucking legend. All due respect.
Love him.
But they're both top end strengths. It's gonna be. I don't know anybody who's gonna go toe to toe with Austin. What are you expecting from Austin at Sheffield? Do you think he could take this? Because Bob Matthews has just said. Did you see Bob Matthews said his next meet is going to be PA Nats? And PA Nats is after Sheffield. And Bob Matthews' coach, Marcellus, was on the podcast saying 80% he's not going to Sheffield. And then
that's so annoying to me. I'm sorry. I love Bob. He's super strong. Bro, just say you're not going. Just say you're not going.
Well, I think in the comments, I'm pretty sure at some point he had said, yeah, I'm not going. Now, like, I don't know if this is official or what, like it's not been confirmed by SBD. Yes, he's off the roster, right? So until I see that, it's conjecture. So we'll see what happens. And there's a lot
I
of
don't know
process
anyone
that has
else
to
who
go.
could beat Perkins. Like if it wasn't Bob Matthews, I don't know anyone. Like honestly, because what's the world record? It's 837, right? So he's probably gonna break. I would guess by like maybe like 40 kilos, maybe hit the 880s. Early on, he was talking about hitting. I think he said 870s. It was what he said on here, but
Right.
might have more because those lifts, if he can execute them all in one day, like here's how I view it, right? If you take Perkins and you put him with a 24-hour weigh-in in the deadlift bar, I think he could outdot John Hack. That's how I view it.
I don't know dots that well because like I'm in the IPF all the time. So I got peripheral, I know, but the Perk he's the outlier of outliers. For me,
Crazy.
pound for pound, he's the pound for pound king. And for me, regardless what happens at Sheffield, he's still the pound for pound king.
Yeah, because it's based off because he's going against the best pound for pound lifter of all time previously, and then also Shell, who's also insane. Like Shell and Atwood, that in itself is probably like enough to be competitive with 83s and stuff like that. Like Shell put up 815. That's competitive in the next weight class up right now.
Oh hell yeah. Oh yeah.
So you have Perk breaking the world record of someone who was already competitive weight classes above. So it's just a different level of competition, I think. Because like that's why I wasn't like a bunch of people were telling me, man, you gotta go to Sheffield. And I was like, I don't know.
Well, would you want to go just to like check it out and be there to like see the actual action? Like there's obviously you got to win an open world title. There's a lot to do before you get the invite as an athlete. However, there might be something to having gone there a few times and checking it out on the other side of things, so that if in the future you end up at Sheffield, it's not your first time. You've been there
That's true.
before. And I mean, it's a whole nother level, man. It's the world's open world is going to be crazy. I'm glad I had Elba Bostrom on here. I haven't dropped the podcast yet. We just recorded it yesterday, but she was talking about she has done so many junior world championships and sub junior world championships, 6 years of sub junior and junior world championships.
A
By the time
lot.
she finally, yeah, a lot. And she said she just did her first open world championships this summer. And all of those junior, sub junior worlds prepped her for the pressure, prepped her for what it felt like. Because world championships, to your point, the vibe is different. You know, the world's watching and everyone's going to pull from it. But when you show
Which
up in that warm up
open.
room, can you imagine being in the warm up room, looking on the other platform, and there's Austin Perkins? Looking on the other platform, there's Shell Buckland. And these guys are going to be in the Hall of Fame. Both Shell and Perk, they're in the Hall of Fame. And you look around the room, you look in commentary booth, and it's your boy. And you look around, right? And you're looking around the room. It's all these faces that you've seen when you watch the streams. You're like,
that
this is it.
that
I'm here.
that started my powerlifting journey, bro. I've got people I watch on Instagram every day, and I'm like, whoa, they're so strong, and then they're right next to me. What?
It's crazy.
And
It's
like, that's why I want to my hope is that before I enter open, I'll have a close battle in juniors.
and
That's
that's good.
that's what I want, because I don't want to go into opens against people like Perkins. Even if I go the next weight class up, I still got Joey B at nationals. You
Yeah.
got, I mean, competition through and through. And I don't want to just coast through sub junior and juniors because, like, for example, for this world, I won gold on all three lifts on my openers. It was a question of, can I get myself on the board? I was able to do that. That's like my first level of pressure is like, can I at least perform the lifts under pressure to the standard?
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's not necessarily maximal, because bench wasn't maximal, deadlift wasn't maximal, squat, I fucked up, had room to adjust. That was bad.
Yeah.
But had room to adjust, was able to get myself and keep myself on the board. That was good. Now it's, can I perform to my best ability while under that pressure? It's less about now just being able to get the lifts on the board and performing. So I don't want my first open battle to be with no experience at all with any pressure. I beat the sub juniors. I beat the juniors almost with my openers in the 74s this year too. So I'm hoping that I'm gonna have some big competition next year. There's a lot of people talking big game, moving over feds or moving up a weight class. A few of them have folded, but there's a few I still have eyes on, and it's like, I want you to bring it. I want you to bring it. I want winning is fun, right? Being dominant is fun. Everyone's like, wow, that's so cool. I think, I was talking to Nathaniel Messiah about this. I think it is infinitely more meaningful if you are overcoming people who have great performances as well. Like insane performances. Like with Perk, he not only is he dominant in his weight class, he's dominant in his weight class over the goats of his weight class. Like even over Atwood and Shell, I'd say he's dominant. And I think that's what I want to be able to achieve in juniors before I move to open, because I think that's important to be able to prove that you could do it against people who are the best at what they do, just like you.
I think a slow drip is the best way to do this. Like you said, I'm not going to go into the open until I get at least a year in the juniors, maybe more. But acclimatize yourself and get used to it. And when you think you're ready, you take that leap. However, when you go, if you're going in as a junior, there won't be all the pressures on a guy like Perk if it's Perk who's waiting for you or whomever, because you're
Exactly.
still going to be 18, 19, 20 or whatever
So
it is. So
no one
they're
expects
going to
you
be
to win.
right. It's more people are happier there. They're excited to see what you put up, but it's not the expectation you have to win. It's more, okay, in a lot of ways, you're in your own lane. You're like, look, I'm here getting experience. I'm not here trying to win. I'm competing against Perk, but I'm not. At the same time, I'm just trying to I'm getting my feet wet, feeling what the pressure's like. And in that case, you're almost off the hook because of your situation. And then your numbers will just speak to what your numbers are. But that's easier said than done when you
Right.
show up. And it depends how much of a threat you are when you do show up. Like, for instance, Russell Orr, he's been on the podcast before, like, I mean, a million times, but he's talked about how if Russell Orr, he knows that he could rattle somebody, he'll do something small. Like, for instance, he'll purposely, when everyone's in the warm up room, walk across your platform. And nothing big.
That's
He's not going to throw.
crazy.
He's not going to throw a shoulder. He's not going to say something rude. Nothing big. But while you're warming up, getting ready,
You're gonna
he's
see
just
him.
going to walk across. He's going to walk across your platform. He might even walk in front of you. You're not about to go in. You're not about. He's not going to cut you off. You're not about to go in, but he's going to make sure you see him, and you're going to know this
He's
fucking guy
there.
just walked in. He just walked in. I'm wrapping up. I'm getting my wrist wrapped. He just walked in front of me in the bar. Like, and he knows, he did it on purpose, but it wasn't big enough an offense for you to say something. It's just small enough that this guy's letting me know he's here and he's trying to be an alpha. He just tried to alpha me. And for some people, it doesn't matter. For some, like, it depends. And if he has 20 kilos on you, like he usually does, it becomes like, God damn it. He knows he's got 20 kilos on you
Yes, he's
and he's
big.
going to walk across your platform. You know what I'm saying? Like, little things, little things. He's going to use your chalk bowl on deadlifts. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? He's gonna little things he's gonna do. Same with like Taylor Atwood. Taylor Atwood's like super competitive like that as well. Certainly in his prime. And like now, he's having fun. I think he's gonna go in 83s. I think when he turns it on, he's gonna turn it on again. But at
Oh,
one point,
83 Atwood, I'm excited to see. I'm glad he chose to do
excited.
that.
I'm super excited to see what because he said, well, I'll finish my thought, then we'll get into that for a second. But he was also saying, like, even a guy like Bryce Lewis, who was a world champ at 105,
Yep.
Bryce Lewis came up to him and was like, do you want some cookies? I made some cookies. Do you need some carbs? And Taylor's like, Bryce isn't even in his weight class. And Taylor's like, dog, I don't want your fucking cookies. He was like, he's in game mode. He's like, what are you talking about? Eat your cookies. Like, he just wasn't in. But yeah, talking about Taylor going up to 83, I think it's a good idea because injuries super plagued him. And this is
It's
actually something I wanted to talk to you about, but injuries caught up to him. And he's like, now that he's eating more calories, he feels like he's recovering a lot better. And he's like, I should have done this before.
mhm.
I should have went to 83 before. And he said, looking back, he had the capability of winning world championships a weight class up. He's like,
Oh
God,
yeah.
I think I
Oh
should have
yeah.
done. Try to win a title. So few, the weight classes in powerlifting are so big that like in the UFC or boxing, like we're talking about, to win a two division weight class, it's a 10-pound difference. Try a 10-kilo
Kilo
difference.
difference.
It's a
Yep.
whole nother ball game, my friend. So
It's
Taylor's like, if I could have
and
done that, that's special.
it's even more important because like in the UFC, it's like yes, strength matters, but like you got technique, you got striking. If you get punched in the face, you get punched in the face. With lifting, if you don't have the most muscle, you're gonna lift less weight. Just objectively,
Right.
you need muscle, you need weight. So if you're not filled out as an 83, good
It's
luck
tough.
because they're
It,
all like 88.
and they're jacked. And that's what makes it so impressive when a guy like Perk did like 851. And that's what makes it so special. If you're able to do it, it makes it extremely impressive. Like that's why Taylor's like, man, that would have been one of those little caveats I would have that very few other people have. Off the top of my head, I'm trying to think of how many multiple world class, like different weight class division champions we have, like Verzbecki from Poland and whatnot. But it's tough, man. It's really difficult to do something like that. A guy like you might be able to. You're young enough.
Uh
I mean,
so this is a fun fact that I looked up. Um when I was 16, remember when I said I was like a stone's throw away? I was probably weighing like 150 pounds. And that was while eating whatever I wanted because I was moving up a weight class. And so that's a 5-pound cut to
Right.
145. That same year that I put up 687, I think Panna, who won Worlds, put up, I think, like 670.
Oh, wow.
I'm pretty
That's
sure.
pen.
I'm pretty sure. I'd have to double check, but I'm pretty sure that's about what happened. So given, I think if I was put on the world stage, totally different meaning. But to me, I feel glad that like I feel like I can maybe do it in the future. It would be something that would be nice if I could stay 74 long enough to maybe see Perk to his end. That would be hard because I feel the difference between me and Perk versus Perk and Atwood. I feel like is a big difference because when Perk came along, Atwood was in his 30s, or at least right.
No, he
like,
was. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I think so. There's like a 10-year gap between them. But the difference is they're both like career 74s, where the difference between you and Perk is it's kind of like Joey B. Joey B wasn't going to like Joey B and Perk kind of had a rivalry, kind of didn't, but Joey B wasn't destined to stay 74. And
at all.
it's probably going to be the same for you, it sounds like.
Yep. So
So you got a limited time to make it happen, right?
exactly,
If
that's
so,
how
you
I
it
view it,
might
and I
not
don't
be
want to. I don't want to force it. I don't want to force it.
right. Right.
I'm young. This is when I'm going to build the most muscle the quickest. If it's like the future of my career and my accolades or beating Perk, the way I view it is if I stick with what I build and listen to what my body's telling me to do, get to the best weight class, focus on the long term, my accolades and my achievements are going to far surpass anything that I could achieve by staying at 74. I think. I don't want my legacy that I leave, if I were to leave one, which would be great because that's my goal in this sport, so is to leave an impact. I want to leave a big impact. I want to make a splash and make it stay. Would be to leave a legacy. I don't want to be known as the guy who just tried to beat Perk and got close, or even beat Perk, but then wasn't able to do anything more than that because I was stuck at 74 at that point. Like, I want to make the move when I need to make the move, not wait because I'm trying to do something else. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Like, yeah. So essentially, you're going to let your body dictate. You're not going to
Exactly.
force yourself into a situation. And it's probably right. If we look at this, by the time you start maturing as an athlete, you probably won't be a 74. By the time you're ready to make the move into the open, we'll say one more year as a junior, maybe on like that. So you do another round as a junior. And then on the second year, so we're 2 years away from now. Now you're 20. 20-year-old Elliott might not be a 74 anymore.
Most likely will not be a 74. And I
So
gain,
then,
like I
right.
said, gain weight easy.
So then it becomes what now you're cutting and forcing things. Now, 20 years old is a little different to cut than, a teenager cutting. So you can maybe cross that bridge when you get there. But also, like, look at what Joey B found. When he stopped cutting, he turned into a monster.
Boom. Exploded.
Right.
Exploded.
Yeah. So,
So,
so yeah, it kind of, you got time to see this through.
and that's the way I view it is also, this is not to downplay anyone's achievements, but if I go 74 versus if I go 83, I basically have to total the exact same number anyway. So at this point, it's like
You might. It depends on. So this was interesting, and I love this from Joey B. When I had him on the podcast, so he had been going head up with Perk a couple times when they're 75s in USAPL. They're both in the IPF, and Joey B stops going 74 or that range. It goes 83, turns into a monster. And now I'm like, look at you guys might clash again on GL points. You guys might clash again at Sheffield.
but
But what happens if Perk comes up to 83? and you guys clash. Because to your point, their totals aren't wide, like 851 and 865 aren't miles apart.
And
So
Perk
could
was going easy on that 851, he said.
and Perk would gain weight. So
Yep.
so it wouldn't be a 75 Perk. It would be, I don't think, a filled out 83 Perk, but it would be a bigger
Yeah, I
Perk
don't know if he
anyways.
could fill out 83.
I mean, that might be ridiculous.
That
Yeah,
would
I don't think. Yeah,
he looked like Shell times two.
yeah, it would be. He'd be stocky as shit. It'd be like Gavin Aiden coming in there.
Yeah.
Um, but Joey B told me, and I like the boldness. He said, Perk needs to stay at 74 because if we go head up, it's not going to be competitive. He needs a formula.
Mm.
He needs a formula if this is going to be competitive. And whether it's
Ooh.
not as true or not, I like the boldness. Look at he's got the biggest total in 83 kilo history, Joey B. Now, is that a local meet? It wasn't international. However, if you got the biggest total in your weight
Total.
class
It's
and
still
somebody's
something.
talking about coming up, you stand your ground, 10 toes down. It's not like a guy who's ranked way in the back talking. This is a guy who's ranked number one.
Yep.
He doesn't have the titles yet, but he's still, you might as well stick your chest out and be confident. You're already here.
Exactly. I mean, and
Yeah,
it's
you're
not like it
already here.
wasn't a not it was it's not like there wasn't anyone good at the meet either. Like
That's the thing. Two-time. So thank you for bringing this up because it's true. It's a local meet, but it's Angelo, Chris Perez, and two-time world champion Delaney Wallace. Two-time world champion Delaney Wallace is who he had to defeat head up. So it wasn't like, to your point, it was a local meet.
yeah,
That
dude.
was a stacked 83 class.
The 83s are always stacked.
Fair
Always.
enough.
It's just right now, I mean, you've got like 4 people who can total in the 860s. And it's
Yeah.
just like, okay. Okay. And then you had Jack Reynolds totaling 825 in training. What? Sorry.
So were you for like I knew Jack leading in, but what did you expect from Jack? Because some of his training lead in, I had people telling me, keep your eye on Jack Reynolds. And I reposted some of it, and he's got some massive lifts, but he's another sub junior. That's
Oh, he's a
murdering
sub
it right
junior
now.
next year, too.
Oh my goodness.
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, he's a sub junior next year, too.
Might he hit 800 kilos as a sub junior? I wonder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is it what was this?
Um,
Like, I got this total up here. Let me take a look.
he did 770.5. And
Yes. Yeah.
I don't mean to, I'm not going to sound the alarm early, but he's talking about maybe moving up to 93.
Well, I mean, if he's only 17, he's going to eventually.
Yeah, but I'm talking next year. Next year, 93.
Oh,
Next year. And he's tall. He's tall. He's like 5'10, just about.
well,
Way
you know
tall.
what? 788 won a weight class up, and he's already 770.5 as an 83. So he might as well.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? And then it's like, it's just a loaded weight class. And that's another reason that I want to move up sooner rather than later is, yes, beating Perk, I think, is a cooler resume, but I think being in a loaded weight class like that is fun. I think it is super, super fun. Like I said, talking to Nathaniel Messiah about that, I was like, I want to be in a battle. I want to be a bunch of people, 800 plus totals, left and right. And because I was talking to him, I was like, dude, honestly, while I did GL more than you, all that crazy stuff, put up a crazy performance, I would rank your performance above mine because you did it
Really?
against people who were big, like that was a pool for the win. And I think there's a lot to a pool for the win. I think it's crazy to see in person. I don't know. It's a different feeling. It's like,
Oh, you're talking about Messiah when you're
yeah,
saying his. I thought we were still talking about Jack Reynolds for a second. I'm like, oh, he had a spread, but no, Messiah. Oh, his was a phenomenal battle, right down to the very last deadlift, and the weight that he had on the bar earlier the year. He failed less back to back competitions. back-to-back meets, he failed less. So
And
he was pushed to the limit and beyond for the win.
he
That's what it's all
did
about.
it, and he did it, and he
Yeah.
did it, which I think that's what I feel like. If you can do that, you can be an open threat. If you can do that on an international stage at a high level, that's what puts you as an open threat, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like,
And being tested like that too is going to help. And he talked about that. He said, to be tested and put like, because the guys he went against are all seasoned veterans at the world championship level as well. None of these guys are scared. When you get to a certain level, everybody's good and everybody's been through it and everybody's seen phenom. So it's a whole nother ball game when you're back there. And you look
yeah,
at, you look at some of these juniors, man, they are, well, I mean, when you're 22, you are a grown ass man. Like these guys are jacked. These guys are huge. Nathaniel is massive.
oh, dude, oh, geez.
Timur is they're monsters. They're
Yeah,
monsters.
that's I want to build muscle. I want to get battles. I want to beat some big names. I want to beat some big names. That's my thing with going to 83 is I think it puts me at the stage where it's a good entrance into open because I feel like I'm not meant to be a 74. I feel like that's inevitable. But even if I were to try and cut to try and cut and stay in and maybe be perk, which I'm not saying I think I could do, but even if I hypothetically did, I would not want that to be my intro into the opens. I feel like that's a very hard intro into the opens.
The big leap. The big leap.
Big,
Yeah.
pound for pound king versus like someone like in the 83s where it's new blood, everyone's new, everyone's fresh, everyone's going through battles. And it's still setting records. Like that's record setting strength, but it's not like when I think about talking about who the GOAT is of the sport, I respectfully think of Perk before I think of any of the names of 83 right now. Personally.
King, you mean pound for pound king or GOAT, like greatest of all time? Pound for pound, yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Well, here's something as well. If you move up to 83, like, I mean, you haven't filled out 74 yet. So you do another year, 74 probably.
Yes.
And then if you do 83 afterwards, if you're still filling it out and it takes you a year or two, you can stay junior. Nobody's forcing you to go open. Take your time. Take your time, build that total. And then when you're ready, you reveal yourself to the open. So then, when you're like 20 and you're a really real 83, and that's where the junior class is a great developmental class for you. And by the time you go open, how many times will you have had USA across the chest and dealt with that kind of pressure and dealt with the international judging, dealt with the travel? Then you're ready. You're ready. I think it's a good, you got a good pathway. And it's exciting. It's fun to have people like Perk mention you and people put your guys' names and together and be like, could he be the next? But also, you got a good head on your shoulders to be like, I'm not going to get pulled into the hype. Like,
I love the hype, but I'm gonna make my own thing. You know what I mean? I don't need
yeah.
to piggyback off the names and the trilogies and the fights. Right. I'm gonna make my own name and leave my own thing. Is the goal?
When you got into powerlifting, who was it initially that you found and started following, and was like some of the guys that you looked up to?
So the first powerlifter I ever knew was just this random dude on TikTok who would wear this Diglett mask while he lifted. That was the first dude I ever saw powerlifting. But if I had to think of the first name I knew in the powerlifting, it would be Tyler Yanez. Was probably the first name I knew, because that's the name I saw when I looked at the 66 teen records in USAPL. So Tyler Yanez, I was like, dang, he's strong. And I looked at him benching crazy amounts now that he's an adult. Then it was like, because I was really fresh, but there was like a select few people who were close to me put in a lot of hype on me because they're like, wow, you've been lifting this long and are already putting up this, yada, yada, yada. So then I was talking about trying to go to 74 and win something. And they're like, man, 74 is a rough weight class. There's Atwood there. And that's when I saw
Oh,
Atwood, like,
yeah,
oh,
you look up Atwood, like, holy shit.
shit. What the fuck? And
Yeah.
I was all over that. That was like probably right during his peak, probably just around like right
And,
after that big nationals total, I think.
and is
Uh,
that when you really started like looking around at the landscape of powerlifting and started really noticing who's who? And
yeah, I think probably around my my first national meet is when I started learning everything right after that. Like, because I wasn't I before that meet I was planning for a year and then I quit. But then after that meet I was like, this is for me. I'm staying. So then I started learning. I like Angela Fortino, Ashton Rauska, people like in the big names currently, because Angela Fortino was like just like setting his deadlift record in the recent time, I think is what he did that year. And like he was big and he mentioned me in his podcast and I was like, what? And then he compared me to Ashton Rauska, so then I learned who Ashton Rauska was. Then I was looking at Taylor Atwood and I saw there was a junior there. I learned who Austin Perkins was. Jen Thompson, like the big names. And then now I'm getting more deep into it. I'm learning the juniors too, because I mean that's the cool thing about Worlds for me is that I'm learning about all these people, and I'm meeting them, and I'm like talking to people who have been champions or broken national records, but at a high level, and I'm thinking this might be or is me. What is their mentality from someone who's been doing it for so many years? How does it shape them? How does it change them? How does it form them? I think it's interesting. I
do you
think,
listen to those podcasts with like some of those big lifters?
yeah, dude.
It's interesting hearing how they approach the game, huh? Who do you
It,
relate to the most when it comes to that? Because you have guys who are like, so you have people like Gavin Aiden and Penna who are extremely passionate. Then you have other guys who are it's different. Guys like Ashton and Bob, they're passionate, but in a different way. It's a different vibe to them. And then you got guys like Russ who are like exudes confidence and really puts himself out there. I mean, he said on the podcast, the day I lose, there's gonna be not everybody, but there's gonna be a lot of people celebrate because I'm letting people know I'm winning.
and that means they're gonna come and try and see you lose.
Of course, yeah. But it builds the hype to watch,
I mean,
right? So how long can the streak go? So who did you A relate to in terms of mentality, and B maybe you don't relate to but you appreciate and think it's fun watching them.
like in terms of entertainment.
Yeah, like in terms of mentality, how they carry themselves.
Oh, that's hard, man. A right now, who could I relate to? That's rough. I mean, I could say Ashton Raska just in terms of like the situation where it's like trying to take your time, but at the same time, it's like I feel like I'm in between. I want to be really passionate. Like if I go based off my raw emotion, like right, I'm like I'm trying to be super passionate, like Gavin Aiden and the people you're talking about, who are just super excited, super into it. And I even want to be like Russ in some ways, where it's like I want to exude confidence. I want to chat my shit, which is why I was in Perkins DMs telling him I was going to total 800. But and I want to say stuff, but at the same time, I don't want to get caught up in it. I don't want to lose sight because as we're finding out, it's a long-term sport.
Mhm.
Look at like Jen Thompson, who's breaking bench PRs till she was like what, like in her 50s?
Like yeah,
What the fuck?
yeah, it's crazy.
Um, I'm 18. I have probably another 20 years till I'm like fading out of the opens.
That's crazy to even think about too. In 20 years, you're 38, and yes, you could be in the open at 38.
There's people that aren't that far off. Not that far
Yeah,
off.
it's pretty crazy to think about, but 100%, 20 years in the game. I don't even know how you'd be able. It's a lot to take in at this point when you're already here. And where might powerlifting be in 20 years?
No one knows. No, I mean, look where it was like 2, 3 years ago. Now look where it is
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Completely different because it's exploding. It's in the middle of its like I would call this like golden era almost of like everything snap, 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 snap. There's we have Atwood. Wow, no one's gonna ever beat him. Oh, here comes Perk. Who's gonna be next? Who's gonna be next? No one knows. No one knows. And it could be 3 years, it could be 4 years, it could be 5 years. Who knows? And it's so crazy because, like, even for me, like, I won sub junior best lifter pretty confidently. But, like, if you take me from like a year ago or maybe 2 years ago, I wouldn't have even had a question of a doubt. I was like, man, I feel like I could walk in there and just win it. But this year, when I totaled 766 and went 6 for 9, I was like, oh, I'm not going to win it. Oh, I'm not going to win it. I thought for sure, because we were talking about Jack Reynolds, I thought for sure he was going to beat me.
For best lifter, you mean?
Yeah, I was like, basically like, man, I actually even was talking to my parents, I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to win it, but it's okay because I feel like the experience I got out of this was just competing at Worlds in general because this was definitely not the best I could do. But then he did it, and I was like, oh, thank gosh. But I don't think I can't imagine any other situation where I was ever in that like sort of like headspace where it's like, oh shit, I gotta like, it's close now.
There's other talented lifters out there that's going
Yeah,
to be close.
well, because like a while ago I was like ahead by far, like USAPL team nationals for the 66s, or I guess at the point 67s. I have a fun fact for you. That's technically the only time I've lost in my age division, the teens, in a meet ever.
You really?
I
You're
technically
US.
technically won because I was a teen one, but I
Okay,
have
okay.
more than every single teen two and every single teen 367 except one. You want to guess who it is?
Who was it?
It's Austin Nikolai, man.
Oh,
At the
Austin Nikolai.
Isn't that some crazy like back lore, like way back
Yeah,
then, like
he's a monster.
3 years ago? I think that's awesome because now we're both up there again, and he's one of the dudes I'm looking at. Like, oh, he like is not that old, and he might be going to 74 soon. So,
Is
oh,
he really?
uh, not immediately, but I think it's definitely in the cards for soon. For soon. I mean,
He's also very young.
he's very young. He's very tall. If I'm being honest, as far as like you go and like to the opens, you see everyone's jacked. Everyone's jacked. The only people I can think of that aren't like absolutely filled to the brim is probably the 66s, and that's usually because they're cutting like a ridiculous amount. Like Panna is cutting.
But if you see Penna, like you see Penna in his pics, like he is jacked too, though. Even yeah, like he's stage ready. Kassem Sand, stage ready. Like these
Right.
dudes, there's very few people who aren't like completely filling out their weight classes. And
The way when I look at Austin, I do not see that. I do not see someone who's completely filled out their weight class, or at least who is filled out their frame more so. And especially because he pulls conventional, moving up to 74. I feel like when I think about it, I think conventional is gonna gain more out of bulking than sumo is, just because it's less leverage based.
yeah, yeah.
That's the common perspective. So it's like gaining weight. I mean, he's totaling close to 700 at Worlds this year, right? It was like
Yeah.
692,
692.5. That's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
which
I
was,
think he's capable of more though. Like
oh yeah. Oh, I mean,
he's
look at his
capable of more.
training.
He
Look at
didn't
his
have the
training.
yeah, he didn't have the performance that would show his full capabilities. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but at some point he's going to show it. And maybe he's out. Maybe it's time he moves up a weight class. I don't know, but we'll
No,
see.
it's that like scary. So it's cool that way back when he beat me, um, when he was team 3 and I was team 1, and now I'm gonna be in the juniors with him. Like actually, like after years and years of lifting, I'm gonna be in the juniors with him. And if he moves up to 74, I can't wait to say hello, man.
You guys will go again. Funny
uh,
how life goes.
yeah.
In terms of the world championships. So after your second, when we go through the lifts real quick here, because here's the thing, you weren't tested maybe right off the hop in terms of another lifter, but you were tested in terms of facing adversity. You missed your second squat, you missed your opening bench, and then your final dead. So you got tested early. You had to bounce back. And this is a world record, no less, on your squat. And missing your opening bench, it's your opening bench too. So it's rattling when you don't get your opening in because now everything's still in doubt. And there's that voice in the back of your head. Oh my God, am I going to bomb out? Is this it? You know what I mean? Until you get that first one in. When this happened to you in the squat in your second attempt and you had to load up 295.5 again, you're a young guy, first world. What's going through your head?
I was so confused. If I'm honest, that I had so much adrenaline. That's what's scary is I had so much adrenaline in me. It took me to see the clip and hear it from some other people to even realize what I did that made me fail the squat. Because if you look at my opener, I was off balance and clipped the rack on that, by the way, because the rack height was one setting too high. And I was off balance and I still popped right up. Then I go for my second and I fail it, and I was like, what? Because I was confident. I was confident in that squat. I got so excited from all the adrenaline rushing that I just, as soon as I heard the squat command, I just went, all right, and dive bombed into the hole. I was like, I'm going to crush it. And then I hit the hole really hard and lost balance and did not have it at all. I'm going out there. I'm like, oh, I'm so confused. And then one of the handlers comes up to me. He's like, listen, man, just do what you do in training. It's all it is. It's just a squat. You're on the board. You're not going to bomb out. Just do what you do in training. Hit the squat. Strength is there. We know it's not strength. We saw your opener. Just hit it. And I went and I did it. And it felt really fucking powerful. And then I thought too much about just do it like you do in training, and then treated my opening bench like training. And fun fact, I don't know if I came close to jumping the press command, but I was self-timing my press because I was thinking just like in training. And that's why I actually re-racked it, because I was like, okay, I'm done.
Okay, first off, before we go on the bench, talk about the squat. You jumped 20 kilos from your opening squat to your second two, which, I mean, I get it. Like your coaching staff is like, look at, you murdered your opening squat. You'll be okay. But it's 20 kilos. That's a huge jump.
It's a big jump.
Are you used to those kind of jumps?
I do them my last warm-ups in training. All I did this prep and basically all of nationals, I was, okay, my last warm-up is going to be 20 kilos less than my
okay.
Than my top set. So I'm used to it. It is a big jump, and I think next time I'll probably open a little higher, honestly. Just considering that, like, I don't know, I feel like I could have. Or at least take either open higher or take smaller jumps. Or yeah, I guess I would have to do both, really. Or to have a lower top end, go more conservative, because if I'm honest, the reason the jumps were so big, I was going to try and put myself in range for that 311.5 was the goal. I was like, I'll do 295.5 my second. And if I really think it's there, I'll jump 16 kilos and try and hit an open world record.
That would be insane.
Do I think it was there? Probably not. But in my mind, I was like, why not? I would be disappointed if I did really easy, like 300 plus, like 305. And then I was like, man, what if I had 311? What if it was there? I feel like that's the position I was in, because it was like, it's not like I'm really competing in the 74s at that point, just because of the lead I had once I had my opening squat. Like, especially on that lift, like I had 1 gold on that lift, because out of all the lifts, I'm good at squat. And I got the junior world record, which was a big goal for me as well, was to beat that record, because it's Austin's. I could do like a little shot at it. But I was just like, okay, I beat the junior world record. I'm just gonna hit 295, see how it feels. If it feels good, send it. If it doesn't, then I'll still hit like 300 kilo, and that's like a cool little milestone. But then I messed up my second, and everything else went different.
So going into the bench press, were you rattled at all, or were you like, after you missed your opening bench, now are you like, okay, this is not going to script?
I was a little rattled, because I was like, oh, I really wanted to bench 175. And then I'm worrying about best lifter too, because I was like thinking about, well, if Jack had a good day, what I would need the total in order for him not to beat my GL. And I was like checking everything. And I was like, okay, I need to hit this bench, considering I missed my second squat and didn't get what I wanted on a squat. So I'm gonna have to hit this type of bench, and then this type of deadlift, and this and this and this. And then I was also thinking about the junior world record. I was thinking what would make it the easiest. And then I missed my opening bench, and it's like, well, now I can't take the jump I wanted. I still jumped up in weight, but it was by like
5 kilos.
Not 10, which is what the original plan was, I think. And so I was like, shit, I can't miss the second one. But then I got it, and I was like, okay, I'm good now. I'm good now.
Moving into deadlifts though. So how are you feeling in deadlifts?
Oh, I felt great. So 285. It moved so fast that a lot of people were saying I dropped it a little early. I'm not gonna say I did, but sometimes in training I drop it like a second before it hits the floor, so I might have.
Neither confirm nor deny. Just plead the fifth.
The jury's not here either, so they can't overrule it.
That's right.
But then my coach was like, "Yo, dude, don't fucking do that. don't do that." They were nice to you. Then I did 300 kilo. I've deadlifted 300 kilo a few times now. Never have I ever seen it move that fast. I was like, even the handler's like, dude, why did that move easier than your opener? And I was like, I don't know. Did it move easier than my opener? Because the thing that sucks is that my deadlift grip was giving out. At the top of it slipped a little bit. And I was like, oh shit. So then I was like, if I'm going to load up anything, I'm going to load up 312.5 and try and trip Hal's record. It was moving. And then, honestly, during the slack pull, like, how they twist their hands like that on hook? I could literally feel my left thumb like, this hurts. And I was like, oh, shit. I don't know how this is going to go. But the adrenaline on deadlifts for me has always been next level. Just because I think, honestly, one, it's not my best lift. And like, for example, going into Worlds this year, there were 2 people who I was looking at that I was like, oh shit, I might not win deadlift gold. They dropped out. but they were there. There was no one on like bench or squat where I was looking at them and I was like, man, I might not get gold on the lift. I was like pretty confident.
Mm.
Then I was looking at deadlift and I was like, ooh. So it's nerve wracking. And then also on my first meet, I went 1 for 3 on deadlifts. So there's that too.
Yeah, there's a history there.
There is a history. Given it's because I just didn't know how to deadlift, but I'm better now. But it's always nerve wracking for me because it's the last lift, and if there's any lift that someone could like maybe catch up to my total with, I feel like it's deadlift, at least in sub junior and junior, because you don't see a lot of super huge benchers in sub junior and junior, which is why Jack Reynolds is fucking scary.
Agreed.
Because what sub junior is benching that much?
No, it's ridiculous. After you became a world champion, what was it like when it dawned on you and your parents and your friends and family and
dude, it's
all the aftermath?
Dude, what was even crazier than becoming world champion was the amount of people that asked for pictures. I was like, what? I've never been asked for a picture in my life because like powerlifting is big. It's cool, but it's not like NFL football big yet, or like Olympics big yet. Like it's getting there, it's exploding, but it's still building hype. So like a lot of time you're not like out in public and someone asks for a picture, but then I'd be walking through Malta, someone would stop me and go, Elliott? I'm like, what the fuck? And
it's got to be crazy.
Like so humbling to me. Like it was different, dude. It was different. It's just that's why I love Worlds. I think if you can go to Worlds and you don't, I think you're an idiot. No matter what. Because respect to USAPL, they're not an international fed. They're not. They have like maybe a few reputable international lifters, right? Like a few outliers out there, but then you don't have like a crowd of like lifters in USAPL in other countries. Like you have an outlier and then like a few other competitors. Then you go to IPF, you got everyone everywhere, competitive in the low rank, competitive in the mid rank, competitive in the high ranks. It's a mix. I mean, USAPL junior or not USAPL, IPF juniors for the America this year got third in team points. They got third. People were talking about a sweep.
It's difficult when people talk about a sweep. I was actually going to ask you about that. The American or possibly anti-American vibe, because you're a Team USA, people want to win over an American. They see an American in there, like, if I could beat the American. Even Nathaniel Messiah said, look I got nothing against America, but I could feel it, especially like the British. When there's talk of a sweep, the rest of the world is going to rise up.
Yeah.
And especially in the last couple of years, we've noticed how many stars come from all over the world. They come from all over the place.
It's awesome. I love it. I mean, here's one. First worlds of the year or of their career, Israel. Some dude in the sea flight nearly pulled a world record on deadlift. Wow. Barack from Israel in the 93s.
Crazy.
I think he pulled like 356, but missed it on grip because his thumb callus tore at the top.
In the sea flight, no less.
In the sea flight.
Yeah,
you know how long he's been lifting too?
How long?
He's been powerlifting for a year and a half.
Oh my God. See, people come out of everywhere, man.
I think that's
all over the world.
The greatest thing. I think it's the greatest. Yeah. I think that's why I think you need to go to Worlds. You need to meet these people who are doing what you do and take it as seriously as you do. Because you're not going to get that everywhere. Like, you'll find them around, maybe at your gym, people who are dedicated. But Worlds, almost everyone is like regimented. This is a big deal for me. If you're going against head for heads, it's like, it's just awesome. It's people who live in the sport, not people who just like, oh, how much you squat?
It's not hobbyists. This is the local level hobbyists. You go to the world championships.
Let me clarify. I love local meets. My favorite meets Other than Worlds, all local meets. I love local meets more than both of my national meets. They are great because I love meeting people who are into the sport and do the sport. But I think Worlds is a different experience as well. I think it's just awesome seeing people from all over the country, because when do you get a chance to do that? It's like the Olympics. It's like the Olympics, which one day, please.
You might be young enough. You might be young enough to see it.
Listen, I hope so. We got rumors of 2028. I heard people were talking about it. I don't think so, but it would be awesome.
Probably too soon for that, but it wouldn't be the craziest, because when you look at some of the sports that have made it into the Olympics, they don't have the infrastructure in place that we do. They don't have all the world championships, all the different nations, all the different the governing bodies in all the nations and how they're set up. You see some sports that make it into the Olympics don't have any of that. We have like Europeans, Asians, North Americans, South Americans, African, like we're so well represented, including regional level championships. In some of these other sports, if you actually watch their world championships on other, like Sambo just got in. Take a look at Sambo. I don't even think there is Sambo Canada. If there is, their freaking national championship is in a gymnasium at a high school. Same with Sambo USA, same with whatever. It's
Right.
not a level. You look at some of our national level championships, let alone European or whatever. It's like SPD rally meet
Dude,
was phenomenal.
oh my
And
God.
that would that destroys national championships for like 90% of these other sports that are in the Olympics. So in terms of people saying it's like a pipe dream, it's not a pipe dream like you think. And Olympics want a sport that'll bring views, bring money. Powerlifting is doing that on its own without the Olympics. It's eventually, you like money, you like views, we're going to get invited to the party at some point.
I think social media is helping a lot, honestly.
100%. 100%.
I mean, just look at like how many followers Jurgens gained after he beat Russ. That was nuts.
Crazy.
That was nuts. Like, no, I did not know. I did not know who Jurgens was before he beat Russ. And I'm like,
The world did afterwards, though, right?
it was exactly. And I think that's why social media is so great, because you get to see these people working and you get to build anticipation. It's like the news, but it's in front of your face all the time when you're just scrolling through Instagram, right? Like when people would have like the training camps for Muhammad Ali when he was training for like George Foreman, and they'd go up to his cabin and they'd film him and they would go on the news, or like how they do with boxers, and you see Canelo hitting the bag and a bunch of reporters around him. And it's like powerlifting has that, but it's people posting themselves, and then you just see the training. Like you see the training and they post it, and it's like it builds hype. And it's like, man, it's just different, dude. I love it. I love it so much.
And it is not like entirely unique to powerlifting, but our training directly mimics the game.
Exactly.
So powerlifting social media, not for the big sports, compared to the big sports are still going to beat us. But compared to the other niche sports that are trying to find a way into the Olympics or other Olympic sports, like tell me, freaking water polo guys or rowers, when they're training, tell me people are watching rowers train. I'm sure there's some, but not to the tune of Russell Orhe or Penna or Leah Babwa or Nathaniel. They don't have followings like that. People aren't going to watch training clips of a rower, a water polo, or equestrian, or it's just not going to happen.
They'll see it and they'll go like, "Oh yeah, they're putting in the work." You see someone's training and powerlifting, you're like, "Oh, they might win. Oh, they might win."
Because it's literally, it's not exactly what happened on a platform, but it might be. It's very, very, very similar. It's radar, it's a direct correlation there, anyways. And we have that. So social media and powerlifting go hand in hand like very few other sports do, to your point. And since the social media boom and all the different avenues we have, like, I said this before, but even like podcasts, do like rock climbing and equestrian and water polo and rowing and all that. Is there podcasts for these random Olympic sports? If they're like beach volleyball has a podcast, really? I'm sure there is somewhere out there, but how big is it? How big are these stars? You know what I'm saying? So to your point, like I think social media, it is a huge vehicle for us. And I would not be shocked if like 10 years in the future, we get the announcement we're going in.
Please,
We'll see.
please.
And let's see what happens with like SBD, Sheffield, and all the rest of it in 10 years.
Oh,
If it's more and more like the UFC, where like the purses get bigger and bigger, the viewers get bigger and bigger, the
venue,
crowds get bigger and bigger,
they're
the
changing.
venue,
They're working
it's
on the
going to get bigger.
They're working on the new venue.
Yeah. It's yeah, because they locked in on the venue, but it will get bigger. It's going to get bigger and bigger. The event's going to get bigger and bigger. The prizes and
I mean,
everything is going to get bigger.
like out like months and months before.
It got sold out before people even knew who was going to be the lifters. It was already sold out. They were like, Sheffield, done, sold.
I think the concept is good because it adds another factor to Worlds for the top lift, even if they dominate their weight class. Because then they have to kind of like toe the line, like with Perk and Shell. Perk didn't want to total as much as he could, but Shell was just strong enough and like, like scary enough that it was like, okay, but I can't be just whatever. I have to.
He had to take his third dead. They were talking like, should we or should we not take the third dead? And Matt Gary was like,
deadlifter in the world in 74 there, you're taking your third dead.
Yeah, it's the all-time greatest deadlifter in the world. And Matt Gary's like, maybe he doesn't have it on the day, but if he does, we could be in big trouble. And it's better to have the conversation, well, we totaled more than we needed, than how the hell did you let that happen? And that could have happened.
That's why I want to get good at deadlifts, bro, because that's scary.
Yeah, it's scary, man, to be waiting in the wings and waiting to see if this guy's going to outpull you, especially if he hasn't loaded up. And it's like, oh God, like when Delaney Wallace,
a backflip,
yeah, with Delaney, yeah, exactly. And then he styles on you with a backflip, and you're like, God damn it! It's like, yeah. But Delaney Wallace talks about in 2022 when he won, and Enaharo came out with the winning deadlift loaded up. And he locked it out. He locked out 385 kilos, just shy of 850 pounds, 847, as an 83. 847 pounds, 385 kilos. He locked it out, and it just came out of his left hand. And Delaney Wallace is like, dog, I never want to feel that feeling again. He almost had a heart attack back there. He dropped to a knee.
No matter what happens, it's not over till that man hits his third deadlift. It's not. There's
fact.
Always just that tiny % chance that he just rips it off the floor. And you're like, oh shit.
It's tough, man. But yeah, being a subtotal specialist is difficult when you got murderers in those deadlifts waiting for you. They're just waiting for you, licking their chops, waiting until the deadlift rolls around. But listen, man, thank you for coming on the podcast. I appreciate it. I guarantee we're gonna have more podcasts in the future because you ain't going nowhere. So keep in contact. When's your next competition, by the way, before we let you go? Do you know? We'll have to wait and see because it's only been about a week or so since you won the world title. So it's okay if you don't have a next.
So there might be talk of a meet in January in Buffalo that I might go to. And I might try and total something a little big there just for fun and to get my feet wet. I was told by Eleni to you saw her, right? That was nuts. But was told by Eleni to go to that meet. So I was like, it's in January. It's good timing. I've been to that meet before, and it's people I know. Let's go and try and do something a little crazy because I want to do something before I turn 19 again, because I don't want to leave off with that. I don't want to leave. I want to go 9 for 9, please.
Yeah. You know what? Local meet, you have time to make some progress, eat some food, fill out 74, enjoy your Christmas, smash some food, smash some Christmas dinners, and lift some weights and make some progress and then go in. Sometimes people go too quickly and, freaking look at Reagan
Oh my
and
god.
he breaks a world record the next week. Like, how this guy's not
I was
human.
talking I was talking to Manson, who's going to Western Euros, and I was like, bro, how are you already like 3, 4 weeks out? I
Yeah, I got no idea. It's crazy.
I'd be dead.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is another thing I was going to tell you. Pace yourself because Taylor has dealt with injuries and even Perk, even though Perk is still young in his prime, obviously, he's dealt with
This
serious injuries. He was not his normal self for years, he was saying. And he just started getting back and now he's killing it again. But pace yourself. And because your frame compared to the weight you have on your back and you're squatting,
it's
you're
all
like Perk, in Atwood. So just take it easy,
really.
fill yourself out and give yourself time to recuperate.
Yeah, I was talking to Lenny about that. She's the 57 sub junior who absolutely mauled nuts. That was like the first top level performance at Worlds I had ever saw. Like I was like, where I went, holy shit, I love this sport.
Oh, really? No kid.
Dude, I mean, because honestly, I think she could win junior nationals this upcoming year. But I was talking to her and her coach, and she was like, even if I can't, I don't need to. We have 5 years in the juniors, 5.5 years. That's a long time. 5.5 years ago, I didn't know what powerlifting was. I didn't lift weights.
To 5.5 years ago, you were 12 or 13.
Right.
Right.
So it's like, now imagine another 5.5 years. What's going to happen? You have no idea. So just take your time. It'll come when it comes. That's my mentality with the open. That's her mentality with the juniors. I think it's the way to go because like you said, Perk injured himself for years. Atwood is now getting called to wash because he got injured.
Yeah.
it's
It,
it's
it's it it can happen, man. It's a byproduct of pushing your body right to the limit. So make sure you hit your goals and then and deal with it. Atwood, it's on the other side of hitting all his goals, and looks like he's coming back. And Perk, he was able to come back, obviously, but you want to learn from these legends who came before you, right? And let them pave the way. But all right, man. Thank you for coming on the podcast. We're going to keep in contact, and for everybody listening, please do subscribe. Give us high ratings as usual. And
always.
until next time, six pack Lapadatt, six up, and we are out.